All right, I'm Logan Jacobson. This is group meeting 4, and the agenda for the meeting is about generating possible solutions, and at the very end, we are going to be talking about our group projects. And I am the chairperson.
Hi, I'm Braden. I am participating.
Hi, I'm Martin. I'll be the recorder.
So on the first thing of the agenda, we have define generate possible solutions from the textbook, and the textbook says during this step of generating possible solutions, during this step, group members generate possible solutions to the problem. Again, solutions should not be evaluated at this point, only purposed and clarified. The question should be, what could we address this problem, not with do we, what do to address this problem. It is perfectly okay for a group member to question another person's idea by asking something like, "What do you mean?" or "Could you explain your reasoning more?" Discussions at this stage may reveal a need to return to previous steps to better define or more fully analyze the problem. Since many problems are multifaceted, it is necessary for group members to generate solutions for each part of the problem separately, making sure to have multiple solutions for each part. Stopping the solution generating process prematurely can lead to groupthink. For the problems, for the problem questions previously posed, the group would need to generate solutions for all three parts of the problem, including the question. Possible solutions for the first part of the problem: how can citizens report ethical violations? May include online reporting, emails, in person, anonymous, on the record, and so on. Possible solutions for the second part of the problem: how will reports be processed? May include daily by a newly appointed ethics officer, weekly by a nonpartisan, non-government employee, and so on. Possible solutions for the third part of the problem: how will reports be addressed? May include by a newly appointed ethics commission, by by the accused supervisor, by the city manager, and so on. And that is the definition per se of our book for the class.
Cool.
And then next we are going to define the define generating the possible solutions with scholarly sources. And I believe that was Braden. Yeah.
Me. Yeah. Yeah. So I searched for a while. I came up with a book called Problem Solving in Groups. I figured that was pretty spot on for what we're doing. It's by Mark Robson. It's published 2002, and I'll give a little context for the book first. It's basically dedicated to teaching different problem solving techniques. It goes through a similar process that our book goes through. The main difference is between the analyzing problems and finding solutions to problems, they have two methods, which was collecting data and interpreting data. So that just gives a little bit of context on the quote, at least. Uh, pull a couple quotes. First is on the basis of the data collected, the group will need to generate possible solutions and to establish the costs and benefits as a part of deciding the best way forward. It is obvious that no problem is solved before it is solved. Different circumstances will require different techniques to find the correct solution. Some will need to be analytical approached, while others will be more amenable to creative solutions, which is why group-based problem solving needs to have a variety of tools at their disposal. And then I just kind of wrote a few notes, kind of what I thought about that and in general for uh, finding the solution. So basically, what the book's trying to get at is that every problem will need to be a different approach depending on what it is. A math problem will have a different approach than trying to figure out how to drum up business at a restaurant. Some are going to be more analytical, some need more creative approaches. It's a good idea to know what kind of problem you're facing, so you know what kind of technique you should be trying to use when thinking of ideas for solutions. And then the rest of kind of what the book was going over for like finding solutions was like specific techniques. They had like different flow charts, stuff like that throughout the book. Seemed pretty cool.
Hmm.
Oh, and I can send that over. You want just
Yeah,
the source
send it
in
in the
Slack?
Slack chain.
I'll send it separate from the quotes that I have.
But yeah, it's kind of like the same thing. It's just wording it differently. Like they're
Yeah,
saying that we need to look at the data points and look at like what the actual problem is, if it is a creative problem or if it's a analytical problem.
yeah,
And then you're going to discuss it with your group members and discuss and decide what data points are best for the said problem. So it's pretty much generating possible solutions, but just worded completely differently.
yeah. Honestly, the whole idea or concept of it doesn't seem super crazy. It's just like kind of brainstorming ideas for solutions and letting everybody kind of like get their points out without actually like analyzing the solution. Just like getting as much out there so you can find the best idea.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting off of like almost all of the scholarly sources that we get is it's a more scientific approach. It's more
Hmm.
analytical compared to what our actual textbook is. It's more relatable because it's more common speech. And so
Yeah.
I believe that's the reason why she wants to have two different things. And so we can have two different approaches, which technically mean the same thing.
Yeah. So, some of the papers I've been looking at, like it's actually hard for me to pull quotes because they like start using like terms and like stuff that I just like don't really understand. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't actually know what they're saying. They're like, but
I, I agree with some of that.
so I try to find like something that's like at least in between, something that is like scholarly, but also like something that I can use.
Yes. And then so let's go to step three. So it's still define generating possible solutions, but it's a group discussion for the next, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes about what we think of generating possible solutions means to you personally and like what you're grasping off of the actual scholarly and the textbook definitions. And so from what I'm getting from this is it's not about finding an actual solution. It's more about bouncing ideas off of your teammates for potential solutions. It's
Mhm.
more about because each person is going to have a different interpretation of the actual problem. And so they're going to have different views on solutions. And then if every single person is potentially generating a possible solution, then the team can come around and say, "Hey, I actually believe that his is better than mine, so let's more focus on that solution because just having one solution, if you just from the get-go, this is going to be it, it might not be the best one. And so if you have like 5 or 6 different ideas, it you're probably going to find the best out of the 5 or 6 that will actually encompass the whole entire problem.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like you could come up with a good solution maybe right away or like pretty fast, but like if you halt all the discussion immediately, then you're not gonna like potentially find something better. So you're like, and it just makes it so people will be less creative. Like, they'll just kind of follow through and like, yeah, that's the best one. Let's go with it. So it's probably good to have like a process where you allow yourself to not choose something right away.
Agreed. And like a big part about this also is like each group member is going to so we've taken multiple little surveys in this class. We've read a couple different texts also saying that each individual learns differently, each individual produces different material for the group itself. And so each individual more than likely is going to generate a different solution, which if I don't ask a question to this individual, what's their solution potentially, I'm not even going to get analytical because that was our analytical person.
Yeah,
And so it just gives completely different views of possible solutions.
true. And it's like there might be more like you're you're probably going to come across more than one problem. And if you are going along with one solution, you might face a different problem. And then if you have other backup solutions or things that could help, you already have those ideas generated. So
That's a good
it's
point
always
too.
good. It's always good to just have like more ideas flowing through you. It's just
Yeah, that's actually a really
it,
good point. I didn't even think about that is if one solution actually doesn't pan out to have other ones on the back burner just in case.
yeah.
What's your train of thought, Martin? Like I know you're typing, that's why I'm not like asking you in the middle of our conversation. I'd rather you type.
No, I'm already behind. It's fine. I'll rewatch the video later.
Oh, I got you.
Uh, um, no, I do agree with you guys of or well, adaptive and trying to go through like having multiple solutions. Another good thing that's kind of like held when you have multiple solutions is does everybody understand the problem the same way?
Hmm.
So like an example, like say I work in merchandising. When I'm talking to say managers, something like that, a lot of when they think, oh, sales are low, that's because we're not stocking up properly. When it's in reality, hey, I can see the weather's not good. Customers aren't going to come in too much. It's one of those things where they're aware of it, but they don't see it as the first problem. As
Mhm.
an my point of view from just seeing it like not as, I'm not going to say like a manager thing, but as like a different perspective. I can see another like problem that I see. Um, I'm not sure how to build on that, but it's kind of just goes further into what we need to think of when we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
Just why are we seeing that? Even if we disagree or might argue about something, it's best to probably like take a step back and think, why do they see that?
Yeah. I think it's maybe not exactly what you're saying, but I think the book touched on that somewhat, where it was like it's you can so you're not going to be like analyzing the solution, but you can still like ask clarifying questions, and then like from those clarifying questions, you can like kind of understand if everyone is identifying the same problem or understanding the problem, and then you can kind of go back and make sure everyone's on the same
Yeah, and to build off that also is like, let's say your manager's problem is different than your problem itself, is if they are somewhat of a same problem, you can kind of put them together and find a solution for both of those problems together. So that's like a big reason why generating possible solutions, because just like what you were saying, there might be technically different problems, but maybe we could find a solution to both problems in one.
page. Mhm.
I guess another thing to look at when you're looking at problems is seeing like the possible like combined solutions, but then also seeing maybe I guess it's just more about going in depth on the problem.
Mhm.
So like after you have like a general base of understanding. So like the example of like selling things of why aren't they buying things? It could be that there's things don't look the best or customers aren't just coming in, but also why like the mentality of why they aren't buying stuff. Say there is customers and there is stuff there. The other thing could be a problem of the products don't look good or it's just not a popular thing. And then you just gotta switch things around and boom, you'll start selling more stuff.
So I know because I kind of work in sales also. I'm a butcher. And I know that like my boss will figure out, let's say we have a certain product for 3 weeks. At week one, he'll see a problem like, hey, this product isn't selling. and then he'll go around and look at similar products for price points also and be like, hey, yeah, this price point is terrible. Like we need to talk to upper management and see if we can reduce the price to make it comparable so we can actually sell this. And so there's going to be multiple problems inside sales that would be encompassed of why are people not buying this product.
Supply and demand, baby.
So started 7. Yeah, I think we have done all 3 steps for defining the actual generating the possible solutions, and we're pretty close on our time scale. Like I think we're a minute and a half off. So I think we can go to step 4, discussing the group project. At first, I wanted to review a little bit of what we were talking about last week. I know that we proposed doing a poster, and we would like the poster and the group project to be on scholarships, and that we wanted to hang up, let's say, 100 posters around the school so it will see multiple different individuals at multiple different buildings. Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up from the last group?
Yeah, I feel like that sounds about right to me. Like the idea is to maybe look into scholarships, and I'm down to like kind of say that's for sure what we're doing, and then just bring awareness to it and make a place so people can like find the resources they need a little bit easier. Sounds cool to me.
Okay, so I kind of catered this a little bit towards our actual agenda for generating possible solutions. And so I'm just going to read out the 3 things I wrote down. So we can discuss how many sources each person would need, like we want them to bring.
Mm.
Let's say, because I like you can't say that I'm going to bring 15 sources for each person because you can't really put 15. Let's say there's only 4 of us. 15 times 4 is 45, or
Yeah.
not 45.
Also, I think it would be good to consolidate it a little bit. Like, if you're bringing in too many sources, then that could maybe make it so it's like a bit overwhelming. And I feel like the idea for me is to make this less overwhelming for people, make it something that's like simpler and easier to do. So like maybe
Exactly.
trying to look for the best eh, like best resources, or and by best I mean like ones that most people can use, ones that can like people can get the most out of.
Agreed. That's because I think last week we proposed like between 7 and 10 sources per person, and I'm just trying to think of like what I would like to see on a poster if I was reading it, and I would not want to see 30 different websites on a
Yeah,
poster. Because
yeah, because
which one do I go to?
I see something with like 30 different links or something like that, and I'm immediately just like, I don't know which one to choose. I don't know where to go. Like this isn't really that helpful.
That's my opinion also. And so I think that we should each get 2 to 3 sources. If we get 2 to 3 sources per person, that would be roughly 8.
Sure.
And at the end of it, we don't even have to necessarily use all 8. We can congregate all 8 of them together, have each person look at all 8, and we could potentially even only use 5 or 6. Be like, hey, I
Mhm.
really didn't like this one. I didn't like how it felt. It was kind of clunky. It was very
Yeah.
hard to use for me personally because I'm not technically savage. Just stuff like that. So like we can get like 2 or 3 sources each and put them all together, have everybody use them individually, and then decide if all 8 stay or if we want to cut down a little bit.
Cut down,
Because
or maybe I mean, who knows? Maybe at a certain point we want to look for some different ones. But like, I agree. Just find some sources at first, then kind of see how we all feel about them.
agreed. because if I'm reading a poster and I'm assuming that the poster is going to be, I would say probably 18 down, 10 across, a decent sized poster that you can read.
Yeah.
It's eight will fit just perfect. It's not too much, it's not too little, but we're gonna want more than just three or four sources. So it's like the money spot's going to be between five and probably nine, in my
Mhm.
opinion. And nine's on the heavy end.
Cool.
So the big problem that we and it's not really a problem, but it's a problem to an extent of dividing the project. Who's doing the poster, which proposed last week it was going to be Martin because of his
I think I was poster. I think it was Martin whenever we said we were talking about doing a website.
oh, okay, yeah. So you're still okay with doing the poster potentially? Sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then for the writings. So technically there is seven paragraphs altogether. Intro, conclusion, and then the five steps that we are going over in each group right now.
Hmm.
So I had a thought, which I don't know if it's a good one or not, but each person that was technically chair for, let's say right now I'm chair for generate
Oh,
possible solution. I should kind of be the most versed because, well, not really because everybody read it, but since I was the chairperson for this exact one, potentially I could write it.
mhm.
And so each person that was chair for the meeting should be writing that chapter, which would make it somewhat easy. If you guys have a different thoughts
I
for
mean, I'd really be, I think, okay with writing any section. So that would be just make it a clean way of knowing which one to do. So I'd be okay with that way.
and from I read two or three of them and they're not very long. Like it's pretty much like the definition of that said section, give me a citation inside that section,
Hmm.
and then like what we actually did for the group project with that section.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
we'd be using a lot of our actual agenda,
Yeah. Using
all
our
of our agenda.
agenda and notes, and maybe going back through the video a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly. So like it shouldn't be and they're really I want to say they're only like 8 to 9 sentences long for all the ones that I read. So they're not very long. Like you can probably write each paragraph, and if you're doing it diligently, you could probably do each paragraph in an hour and a half if you're actually analyzing and going through all the agendas and looking back at the meetings and stuff.
I guess the main thing was to figure out how we want to do the intro conclusion and then also how we like want to review it, which that that hard really. How many? So there's how many sections for it?
There's seven. So
Okay,
intro, the five steps,
okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And then the
and
conclusion.
then the conclusion. And so yeah, I don't believe that person making the poster should do any of the intros or conclusions because you're already doing more work.
I'm sure.
Like I know that like writing this paper isn't going to be terribly difficult, but doing the poster in my mind is the most difficult part. So you shouldn't really have to worry about that. It should rely on your group members.
So I'll just worry about doing my poster and then because I guess we haven't talked about this yet. We'll talk about this later, but I'm guessing I'll be the chairperson next week. If we're just rotating through how we've
Yeah.
been doing it.
Yeah.
So then I'll just do those 2 weeks. Yeah, that sounds cool to me.
And then let me look back just a second on the actual um,
Because I mean,
assignment.
technically, if we do it that way, where I'm okay with doing the intro and conclusion if need be. I'm not sure if that'll be. I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to be split evenly.
So if it's he's doing two steps because he's going to be doing next week, so he'll be writing two steps. I think it's step two and step five he'll be writing. I'll be writing step one and step four. You'd be writing one
Step
step.
three. Yeah, it'd be step three. So that's all. I'm okay with doing that. Or the other alternative, I can just be leader for next week, so that I cover three and five, and then you and I can divvy up how we want to do the intro or conclusion,
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me.
and then that kind of
Cool.
gives Braden more of a time to just focus on poster. If
Yeah.
anything, thinks of his one, but just kind of goes from there.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm good with doing either the intro or the conclusion. They're both pretty much the same in my opinion. But what I'm trying to see is the actual deadline for the project. So the project says it's due on
11 or
the 17th. I guess it's the
yeah,
very last day.
the report. Yep, the report's on the 7th.
So do we want to
And then implementation of the project is due on the 14th.
do we want to what'd you just say? Implementation of the project?
Yeah, so not the report, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. But so the report wise, do we want to have a rough draft, let's say on a week prior to it, so the 10th, so everybody can make review the whole entire thing a week prior to it being due. So make sure that like the poster
wait.
and each section is written by the 10th.
Sorry, real quick. Don't we still have two more sections of the for the
We
group
do.
meeting?
I did my math
Yeah,
wrong when I was
because
like,
because I think the first week we didn't do we just had like that general meeting.
Oh, that's true.
So if we want, I can do this week, Martin do the next week, and then you guys do intro conclusion.
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, I'm done.
Sweet.
But are you guys okay with
Sorry, yeah, you finish what you just said. I was just looking at that because I was trying to figure that
Yeah, you're fine, you're fine.
out.
But having a rough draft completed by the 10th, so we have a week to
Oh,
review and edit.
yeah, that sounds great to me.
Cool.
Uh, cool.
And then we have 5 minutes left. So do we want to divvy out the actual? So Braden's going to be chair.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm going to be recording minutes. Martin is going to be just a participant,
Participant.
and Nolan is going to be the recorder of time to make sure that we still are on schedule for each subject. Only reason why that wasn't brought up today because I was just doing both roles as the recorder to make sure that the time was kept and to make sure and being the chairperson.
Yeah.
And then do we the next meeting's agenda, we already have the agenda like is not written or anything like that, but we really don't need to discuss it because it's already written in her assignments.
Cool.
So I can look at my schedule real quick and see for potential days to get it roughly at the same time. because I,
Mhm.
I either have Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesdays off.
Gotcha.
But I think next week is different because I'm going to Crater Lake next week on Friday. So I think I took Friday, Saturday off. But let me double check.
So just to clarify, can you guys say what steps you'll probably be working on? I'm just putting that in the discuss of the project.
I'm going
Oh, for the paper?
Yeah, because you're doing Brayden's doing posters, so I put him already as that.
Yeah, so mine was, I believe, define the problem, and then I'm doing next week, that would be evaluate solutions.
and then um this kind of sucks because my very first chair meeting wasn't on one of these problems. And
Oh,
so
oh,
technically
it does.
my only first one. So
Okay.
I guess that it would work better if Martin did next meeting,
Okay.
and then I did the very last one. So I would have this
Mhm.
analyzing the problem as one of mine, and then the very last one, which is what is it called?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, disregard what we said, Martin, if we're changing this.
Sorry.
No worries. No, I just want to clarify because I was like, if Logan and I do these next two, that covers your basis there.
Mhm.
Like we'll still like send you information about like scholarship things. There are a few other things, maybe recommendations on colors, see
Mhm.
what goes with. But for a lot of it, we'll trust your expertise on the design.
Oh yeah. Don't even worry about it.
So I will be writing the analyze the problem, this step right here, and then step 5, implement and assess the solution.
Okay.
And then you want to make it so so if it's Martin next week, I'll record minutes then?
Martin was just participating, but if you want to record, that's fine.
Oh, wait,
Since
wasn't he writing?
no, I was
I'm
writing next. He's writing right now.
I'm ready right now.
So I was going to be
Uh,
writing, but since I'm doing chair in 2 weeks, you can do the minutes next week.
okay,
And
gotcha.
then
I think I got a little
yeah,
confused on that, but I'm gonna.
my schedule for is Friday, Saturday. I'm off technically. So Friday I'm 100% busy. Saturday I'd be open all day. Like I can do it in the mornings, I can do it at night. So if you guys wanted to do that, Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, I would be only able to do it at 9 p.m.
Martin, what's your best day, you think?
Uh, I'm basically available whenever, as long as I know ahead of schedule. I mean, after like 2, 3 o'clock normally, my
Mhm.
my schedule changes around. It's a rotation.
Do you
But
want to shoot for Saturday?